Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Los Angeles-based jazz performing and recording artist David Sills on living through the COVID-19 pandemic world. He's on the heels of releasing his 17th CD as a leader in Natural Lines and working his way to a new hope of returning to the proverbial stage in 2021. We talked about quite a bit related to life lately and hope for the future. Enjoy.
Well, hey, welcome back to Neon Jazz. It's great to talk to you again.
It's my pleasure to be here, Joe.
You know, it's been a little time since we've spoken last. Kind of give me an idea. I believe it was during the summer that we spoke, and obviously so much has taken place since then. Kind of give me an update on what's been going on with you as we all fight through this pandemic.
You know, the good thing is it seems like we're starting to get together and play again, you know, with in groups. Not a lot of public performances, but at least we're kind of in small gatherings starting to get some music happening, and that's been positive. So I'm really optimistic about where it's going. I mean, in the summertime it was a little harder to be optimistic, but now it seems things are starting to look a little better for the music scene. And I think once things really start opening up, it's going to be good. People are hungry for music, that's for sure.
What have you personally been doing during this time to kind of get yourself ready to that point where when things do open up, it's good to go?
I'm trying to practice, you know, keep a steady regimen, a routine going every day, and keep up the repertoire. That's the main thing. I mean, it's easy to let something like that slip as you don't see a lot of work opportunities happening. I mean, I've heard that from a lot of my musician friends, that they're not inspired to work at it because there's not a lot of work. But I think just staying in it mentally and individually keeps you prepared, and I mean, it's part of the process too. I mean, I love being by myself and practicing and focusing on my my craft, really trying to develop and learn. And again, I'm trying to keep up the old repertoire, but try to learn some new music and write some new music, and just kind of keep things fresh.
What do you miss the most about that old world? I mean, we're on kind of this seminal anniversary moment of everything that happened 1 year ago, and when you look back at that time and look now, what do you miss? What are you looking forward to getting back to?
I mean, absolutely performing. I mean, performing in you know, venues, being able to go out and listen to music too. I mean, that's a big part of it. Just being inspired by other musicians and having that community where we're connected. I'm honestly looking forward to getting off social media a little bit and getting more in real life. I mean, not to say that social media isn't valid, but just being out in the real world and interacting directly with people. I'd much prefer that. I don't care for the digital interaction as much, you know. So that's really kind of where I'm at. It's just getting back to the actual communication, cultural, and just everything that's happened out in the world.
You know, the one thing about this time away and this time of like reflection for the planet, more specifically for the world of music, things have changed so much. How do you believe the jazz world will come back stronger? What do you think the world of jazz is going to do to adapt and to come back as a stronger organism?
Well, I think I have seen quite a bit of adaptation within the digital world. I mean, in terms of just how people are communicating right now, and people are putting things together while we're remote. I think that because jazz is such a hands-on, in the moment kind of art form. I mean, it happens right as it's there. You know, it's not something that's done generally in a vacuum. You know, we have to be doing it at the moment in front of people. I think that's what people want right now. I think people have been missing that, and I think that because of that, because we've been missing it so much, I think the appreciation and the desire for that amongst the general public is going to be much higher. And I think it's my hope, and I'm optimistic about that. I think that's going to happen. I
guess taking that a step further, when we do actually get to a point where you're on stage and we're in the audience, what silver linings, what residual feeling do you hope we all get from this long time away from live music? And hopefully it sticks with us.
I think the time away has been good in some ways for the self-reflection. I think a lot of people are reflecting on their own values and what's important to them. I think that might have been a good thing. In a way, it's been like a big time out for everybody, just kind of to figure out what's important. And I think when we get back, just the feeling of of urgency to be connecting and to appreciate that we have these freedoms to express and to communicate and be back in somewhat of a more normal world, and maybe give it more value than taking it for granted. I mean, in a way, I guess for myself even, I think in some ways I took for granted many of the things that we had before the pandemic. Many of the freedoms, many of the opportunities that were around, and we got complacent. I mean, I did a little bit. So maybe now it's kind of time to reevaluate that and look at, hey, these things are really special, these moments of being out in the world.
There was a jazz singer in Kansas City we lost actually last year, and she had beaten cancer a few times. And I remember the first interview I asked her about, what have you learned? What have you done differently? And I'll never forget her saying she just didn't say no anymore. And I have this feeling in the world of jazz that we're getting to a point now where I don't think that people are going to say no to gigs. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to play every and any possible gig that they can get their hands on.
Absolutely. I'm already ready to play a lot more things than I might have played before the pandemic. That's for sure. And so, just being available to the artistic side of things and the value of playing good music and playing, I've always been particular about the kind of gigs I did. Not so much in terms of whether it's materialistic, like in other words, it pays good or not. That wasn't really so much the big issue. It was more about the artistic quality, and I think I'm going to still maintain that high standard in terms of wanting to do something that's meaningful. But I think in terms of what the environments are, I've become a lot more flexible. I mean, what situations I'll expect to be playing in and willing to play in, I think are going to be much more open, and I think that's a good thing. I think the opportunities of playing. I had several friends that were creating performance opportunities for themselves during the pandemic, and they had to be creative about it. And I think that's a good thing. And I think when things start opening up, I think it's going to be, those opportunities are still going to be part of it.
The world's clearly waking up. I did hear actually that the Blue Whale closed in LA, which just, anytime you hear about that, that's just not something you want to hear. And even New York's had some clubs closed down. What's been kind of the general feeling about that and how things might resurrect?
It's really disappointing a club like that would close, because that's, one of the great, probably one of the highest level jazz clubs in Los Angeles, and the level of art and the great music that was going on there. It's really unfortunate that club closed. I think something will rise again in a similar type of venue, and what I'm hopeful is that more venues of that caliber, and maybe in different genres of jazz. I mean, there's a wide range of jazz. It's such a huge genre of music that there's so many different specific styles, and I'm hoping that several clubs that are high level and art minded clubs open up, and I think they will. I think that as time goes, that will happen. I think it's unfortunate that the pandemic these clubs like that took a financial hit and they just couldn't sustain. So I'm hopeful though that we're going to get back to it.
I guess more hyper specifically when we think about, all of these things that are happening now. I know that LA is usually bathed in sunshine, but the rest of the country is starting to warm up. Vaccines are spreading, things are happening. Let me ask you this. How do you see this revival and this resurgence of live music playing out as we progress through the year and even into the next? How do you see it unfolding?
What, at least for me, from what I'm seeing, is that it's going to start off with small little gigs, and I think as more just simple places like restaurants and things open up, I'm seeing opportunities for just small little things happening in those environments, maybe some little outdoor restaurant type things. Those will start to happen, and I think eventually, maybe this summer, we'll start to see some kind of potential festival type venues opening up, bigger outdoor concert spaces. I think that's what's going to happen in the short run. And then I hope that my hope is that people are really drawn to it, and that the powers that be see the financial benefit in having this music out, and that will support it, aside from just it being something that's done, sort of financed through philanthropic means. I'd love to see some people like start to get into it beyond that and seeing the potential there.
Wonderful. David, it's great to catch back up with you. Good luck with the return to the stage and the album and everything that's going on with you.
I appreciate it, Joe. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview. We give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Los Angeles, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to David for his time, music, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.